Good day to Dr. Zainuddin and everyone. Today, we will be presenting our research proposal. I'm Thurga A.B. Krishnan and my other teammates are Perimavathy Anak Perempuan Kaliapam and Maleni Anak Perempuan Ramasamy. The title of our research proposal is The Incorporation of Social Media Sites, Challenges Faced in Acquiring Vocabulary Through Online Learning Among Secondary School Students in the District of Johor Bahru. Our presentation today consists of three main parts, which is introduction, problem background, and methodology. And I will be presenting on introduction, where I will be talking about the background of the study, problem statement, research objectives, and research question. While Perimawati Anak Perempuan Kaliapam will be presenting on the second part of the presentation, which is problem background, where she will be talking about conceptual framework and previous studies on lexical approach and social constructivism in social media sites. And lastly, Malini will be presenting methodology part where she will be talking about research design, data collection procedures, sampling, and the instrument. So let us begin with the abstract. To summarize this, the goal of this study is to identify the challenges that ESL learners have faced when using social media to learn vocabulary. And its goal is to look into the substantial distinction in the types of social networking sites utilized for vocabulary acquisition. Now, let us look at the background of the study. ICT has connected millions of internet users on a variety of online communication tools requiring continuous learning and timely acquisition of new knowledge. So the integration of social media sites in second language teaching and learning is important, particularly among ESL teachers as part of e-learning experience. So it is undeniable that it has become a pillar for language teaching and learning, particularly in contemporary setting. Besides, the broader environment of social media sites gives language learner with the possibility to communicate freely with authentic language in a language learning scenario. The advancement of social media sites has also helped Malaysian teachers to avoid prolonged disruption of learning process. So the technology actually has allowed e-learning to evolve from traditional face-to-face learning experience, and it also allows learners to develop content for sharing via a variety of internet-based apps. Besides, learning sessions in school has been shifted to e-learning through web-based technologies due to the pandemic. So according to GOT 2021, the use of electronics as part of learning has given students a fresh perspective. Although devices and internet access are still common challenges, it is clear that learning experiences is what drives technology rather than relying just on technology. Then, according to a recent study by Arumugam 2020, social media sites including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and WhatsApp are extensively utilized and incorporated among undergraduates in one of Malaysia's public institutions for vocabulary learning. So actually here, social media sites provide access to authentic language interaction with other users, and it also empowers novice users to learn and acquire from more experienced users in speech communities. Now, let us go into the problem statement. ICT integration has been on the rise recent years. So, in view of the increased popularity of social networking sites, teachers must comprehend why ESL students may feel helpless and dissatisfied when integrated into e-learning network framework. In contrast to popular belief that online learning is superior, many studies or research has actually showed that it causes more problem. So, ESL learner believe that learning vocabulary via social media is detrimental and insufficient. So, it is undeniable that many ESL learners feel that their learning time is insufficient, unlike face-to-face learning in a traditional classroom setting. Besides, Teachers also reported on the problem to arouse students' interest in using social media like Facebook for language learning. And challenges are the primary causes in the obstacle to implementing this strategy in ESL classroom. So challenges such as poor internet connection and teacher and students' readiness to use social media sites have made most of secondary school reluctant in accepting and integrating social media sites in ESL classroom. So the purpose of our study is actually to investigate the phenomena of social media sites for vocabulary learning among Form 4 students in Malaysian ESL context, and also to look into students' perceptions of social media sites for vocabulary learning and evaluate the effectiveness of social media sites in enhancing students' lexical acquisition. So we have come up with two research objectives, which is to identify the challenges with the use of social media sites faced by secondary students during vocabulary learning, and to investigate if there are any significant effects between the types of social media sites used on vocabulary learning. Then our research questions are: what are the challenges of using social media sites in the learning of vocabulary among secondary school students? And how do these different types of social media sites affect their vocabulary learning experience? So that's all from me. Now over to you, Prema.
I'll continue my part about the problem background. Okay, firstly, a conceptual framework. The model of technology, it happens a model, or we can call as a TAM by Davis on 1989, is commonly adapted in empirical studies to predict the adoption of new technology by individuals. Three important elements, namely perceived usefulness, PU, perceived ease of use, PEOU, and attitude toward the usage, or we can call as ATU. And then these are modified as a conceptual framework for the current study. And then this is for student feel using a social media as a tool for vocabulary learning. And then this is a previous studies on lexical approach, especially in the vocabulary learning. The lexical method provide another degree of organizations, notably multi-word units, say the author Richard and Roger on 2014. And then this concept convey the function of lexical chunks and the building block of the target language users of social media site for ESL contact have a similar experience. And then on 1983, Pauli and Saider presented a similar thought also. They say how the nature speakers might be create a fluent strangers and spontaneous contact conversation in the L1 setting years before the Levis emphasized the importance of lexis in the L2 learning. And then 2002, Bray said that a chance is a string uh, prefabricated concurrent or inconcurrent words or unit of a meaning. And then he say also, learners indirectly process the lexical chunks to the produce a new percept from the prepared lexical store in their minds. And then on 2000, Chimit added his point that lexical chunks may be a facilitated fluency as a learners, and then understand the role of this multi-word unit in the speech production. On 1976, Hakuta also agreed his opinion that motivation has, and he believes the lexical chunks can be served as head start for, especially for those early stage of learning a new language. And then the social media side may be a promote an opportunity for novice ESL users for the target a language as they are interacting with other users online. And then on 2020, the more advanced learners become more variation can be created and presented with the useful social media sites. And then this theory maybe we can combine with the constructivism by theory Vygotsky on 1978, interaction theory, consider a language a learning by the conversational dialogue or relationship between the social media site of users. Okay, on a Web 2.0 resource, often known as social networking site, have developed a dominant language, contact and setting for two-way communication by Dianya on 2016 and Faizi on 2015. And then on Rogoff on 1990, he said such a repeated participant in a variety of joint activity can be novice gradually developed by new knowledge and skills. Okay, and then since social media are widely used in the communication, student may be express certification with their ease, which they may communicate with other users. This is say by author Kicharan on 2016. And according to Khan on 2016 also, he said that a social media site may be a signification for role of student. And then English language is a question through the device media since they are more engaging than printed resource such as books or other reading materials. And then finally, during the process, exchange and collaborative dialogues between social media sites can be provide a scaffolding for ESL learners and can be pick up new information for routine interactions in the online interaction via social media. And then this is mentioned by Leif and Wenger on 1991. And then this is a scaffolding for process for critical social counterterrorism theory.
Thank you, Prema. I'm Maleni Ramasamy and going to present about the methodology. As for the research design, a qualitative approach is chosen for this study. Why qualitative study? It is because it helps to acquire a deeper understanding of the problem in this study. This study employs case study design as it would provide richer details about social media sites and language learning. Data is collected through semi-structured interviews with the participants from government secondary schools. Open-ended questions used in the semi-structured interviews as they can generate more extensive descriptions and complex responses. This is said by Creswell 2014. As for the study participants, population for the pilot study is from secondary school students in Form 4. They are of 16 years of age on average. The reason why we choose them is based on Piaget's cognitive development theory. This is because they are able to think logically about abstract propositions and test hypotheses systematically, as cited in McLeod 2010. The sampling is done with stratified and purposive sampling technique, with 30 respondents for the pilot and 60 respondents for the actual study. Now I'm going to continue about the data collection procedures. The goal of the semi-structured interview is to learn more about ESL learners' experiences with social media sites. Previous studies on social media sites for language acquisition were used to construct and adapt the interview questions. The pilot study will use the items that were developed initially. Before the actual study, it is then revised and improved. To continue, the interview protocol is divided into 3 sections and each section serves a different purpose. The researcher is building rapport with the participants as meaningful communication is important for deeper and richer responses from participants once they are at ease. In the second portion, the researcher emphasizes the open-ended questions and probes the participants on their experiences with social media sites. The final portion debriefs the participants and expresses gratitude for their participation in the study. As for the ethical consideration, approvals from Educational Planning and Research Division EPRD, the Ministry of Education of Malaysia MOE, and Johor State Education Office are needed before the study commences. The second step will be 8 secondary schools in Johor Bahru will be chosen and contacted about it. Next, purposive sampling is used in this pre-empirical stage since only respondents who use social media sites are selected based on data from the pilot study. The next step will be respondents are required to sign a consent form with the agreement to voluntarily involved in the actual study. So, based on our findings, so cooperation and communication between researcher and respondents are vital for the study's smooth implementation. So that's all from us. Thank you.